It's a pretty foggy one this morning. It's pretty thick. I'm going to lift for a while anyway, by the look of it. But good morning everyone, so I'm just milking at the moment. The dad is going to come and take over from me very soon. We've got the fert truck coming at 8, he's got 2.5 tonnes, so we're going to clean up the rest of the paddocks that I haven't done, which is pretty much just like all the new grass, so it'll be good to get that sort of finished off. Somebody asked about the tails the other day, because they are getting pretty bushy at the moment, like this. You can see they do need a bit of a trim. And I have done the odd one that is pretty bad or a little bit daggy, but my plan is that I'm going to hold off and do them next month, which is May, so right before we finish milking, so then they're sort of clean through the winter, and when they calve they're going to be relatively short, they won't be too daggy, so they're going to be easier to trim then too, because once they calve we trim everything again. But that's the plan, or my plan anyway. I'm also thinking about sending some more culls away. This girl's a prime suspect here, number 55. Good condition, just the udder on her, terrible. She's not milking well at all. And she hasn't really milked well all season, so I'd be a little bit more lenient if she calved early and has done a lot of production for this season, but she hasn't, so she just really needs to go. There's probably about maybe 5 or 6 others that could go with her, so maybe I could send 6 next week, but I might have a little look at home when I get home and I'll go through the sort of figures and I'll show you how I sort of decide who stays and who goes. Plus I've got to have a little workout and see how many more culls I can send away. Dad's back, although there's only a couple of rows in the yard there. What is there? That row, that one, 2 rows left. Still foggy as, but the truck's turned up, so that's the 6-wheeled articulated one. I thought it was going to be the 4, but not today. That's all good, but this new grass will love a bit of fertilizer. I think Dad might have missed this area with the sprayer, but you can see how weedy it is. Like, it is just covering it. It's not quite so bad in other places, but still quite bad. Or this one's probably the worst out of the 3 that are here. Just see weeds are coming up quite rapidly. Although the clover's germinated and it's past its 2nd leaf stage, so we can get in here and spray it now. There's a bit of fine weather coming up, so that means we'll be able to get in here. Lee was supposed to come out and have a look yesterday. He might come out and have a look today. He was just a little bit worried that maybe the weeds hadn't germinated enough to get in with the spray and maybe leave it a little bit longer before you hit it, but from what I can see, I reckon it's just go time. Get in here and nuke them and it'll certainly help that grass come away. This annual is looking awesome though. Like, it won't spray this will be alright. It's pretty hardy, grows pretty quick. But check that out, far out. Be able to graze it soon, I reckon. Another couple of weeks. Last paddock, 100 kilos left. It should do it, hopefully. I was a little bit worried about when they were turning, just making a little bit of a mess. Like, it is brown, but I think it'll regrow through there. Should be alright. It's better to get it on than not. But this paddock's, I wouldn't say it's looking great. I'd say it's looking a little bit average. And mainly because, like, you get some lines here. See, there's annual coming up there, but then it's missing a lot through there. Maybe some will still germinate, but I'd say most of it has. And I'd say that is pretty much due to, like, insect pressure maybe. And this paddock's sort of been hit a little bit harder. Like, there's spots maybe up through the hill there that don't look as good. The other paddock down the road looks a lot better than this one though, so I still think it's going to be alright. Like, give it a couple of weeks and all that annual will come up and it'll bulk out and it'll look sweet as. It's just, yeah, hasn't germinated probably to the best, but maybe that was to be expected because this paddock was pretty weedy, and I guess you could expect a few more insects and bug pressure, I guess. So it does look good in places, like, don't get me wrong, like, it's still going to be good. And this paddock was really like a real bad underperformer. So it's going to be a lot better than how it was. I still really want to get like a 3-point linkage spreader so then we can do our own. So I could have shot around and done all this by myself. Like, done maybe the bulk loads, maybe get them to do it, but just Spreading stuff on the new grass would be way easier. If I did it on the tractor, I could take a little bit more time, and it's not quite as heavy as those trucks. So yeah, hopefully maybe next season we might be able to look into it. Definitely on the wish list at the moment. Fog's kind of gone now, but it's sort of pretty overcast and dreary. But to be fair, they were taking it pretty easy in the truck. Derek was driving and he was taking it very slowly. But when you got big vehicles like that, they do make the odd lines. I think it'll recover all right. It just looks a bit bad at the moment. Give it another week to freshen up and it should be sweet as. Lee's actually just texted and said he got held up yesterday, so he's going to try and come out this afternoon. He's a little bit busy this morning, but that's good. We should be able to catch up with him in a couple of hours and see what he reckons about that grass. I'm just having a little workout for these cull cows. So this is the plan going forward for next season though. So I'm aiming to milk about 304 peak. I'm not too worried if I don't get there. Like if we sort of milk 300 or 295, I think that would be all right. So the goal is to milk 304. So that means I need 230 mixed age cows that I'm going to carry through the winter. I need 70 R2s, so at the moment there's actually 76, so I've allowed for a couple of empties plus a few more. I'm also going to keep a few empties, so I'm going to carry them over, which that's why I've worked that out to equal 300. It's not something I usually do, and it's kind of going against what I think and believe about fertility, about breed, or if cows don't get in calf, then they don't get a second chance at our farm, so they are sold on. But I've got a couple of nice like young ones. There's a couple of 2, 3 and I think a 4-year-old that I kind of want to keep. They've got real nice figures, they're milking well, so I'd like to carry them over. They did get in calf, they just slipped later on and they didn't get another shot, so it's kind of not their fault. I guess you could say, well, kind of is, because they slipped as well, but they did actually get in calf. It was just like a real late return, so I want to carry them through. I've got the option because Steve, who's going to buy the empties, he said that he's going to take a herd of his through that he's not going to mate through the winter, so he's just going to milk them through. So I need to check that option's still available. If it's not, then I'll probably just sell them to him. But they're pretty much too good to sort of sell, and that's why I want to keep them. But I need to double check with him to see if it's still available. But getting back to this, so at the moment I'm milking 287 cows. There's 25 empties in this herd, so that means that I'm currently stocked at 262 minus the empties. So that means that I can cull, what does that mean, 32. So I've actually got quite a few more to get rid of, which means I could probably start offloading a couple. I might even text Taylor today and see if I can get 5 or 6 gone, maybe. But the only reason I've got so many that I can cull now is because we are reducing cow numbers. So we usually milk 315, then we've dropped down to, like I said, like 300. So that's an extra 15 cows that we can cull compared to normal. Otherwise I wouldn't have quite this many, and it'd be a little bit tighter the ones I could. It also depends on your empty rate. So ours was a little bit higher this year, but still quite low, so 9.5%, which isn't too bad. So that means you can go a little bit deeper with the cows you do want to get rid of. And this is how I sort of chose. I hope you can sort of see it all right. I'll sort of explain it more than what you can see, but I've just come to my minder. So this is what all the cows are in on the computer, and I've come down and made a report. So total 287 animals. This is the whole of the milking herd. What I've done, it brings up this report here, and you can add things and take away things up there that you want. Like, look, you can sort of take away the age, and then you can put it back to the left. Move that over there. But this is how I sort of pick which cows I am going to cull. So there's the breeding worth, then production worth. So breeding worth is sort of how well the animal should milk, I guess, like it's the breeding behind it. So the higher the number, the better. Then the production worth is how well it's doing against, well, compared to your own herd, and I think maybe the national one too. I'm not quite sure. I'm not real sure how that works. But I'm not really looking at them, I'm looking at the LW, which is like a combination of the two. So I go over here and click that. So that's, if I click that again, so that's from highest to lowest. So the higher the number, the better. And I'll go start from the bottom. So there's a couple here like that are minus. See, they've got BWs are right on that cow, but PW 36, so that's terrible. Like, she hasn't done very well at all. So 318, she's a 3-year-old, so she'll be on the list, she'll go. I can't see that 55 at the top here. See, all these are minuses down to about there. So all these cows aren't really producing that well at all. I think 55 had like a PW or an LW of... I can't see that 55 in the bottom here, but there's a couple of others that probably need to go. Look, number 11, she is a 6-year-old. She's got a PW of 77 and minus 80. She is not due till the 17th of August. So she'll definitely be on the list at number 11. That 55, I will send her. Maybe the reason she's not here is because the herd test was done a couple of months ago. I think, when was it done? Just after the new year, maybe February. So it's been a couple of months since then. If we did have one tomorrow and it updated, like, some of these things would change. But just by going by eye, she needs to go because she's not milking that well at all. So I'll add that 55, that number 11, and then I'll just go through like that 318, which is at the bottom of the list, that 3-year-old. She'll go, and I'm pretty much just doing it on production. So I'm not worried about what their breeding worth is. I'm just going through and pretty much nailing them on their production. And if they're not producing, like, I'd give a little bit of lenience towards maybe like a heifer, a 2-year-old, but, or maybe a 3-year-old. It sort of depends, but definitely not if like that 6-year-old, number 11, like, she's got to go because obviously she's doing terrible. Mind you, that's just the way I do it, and everyone is different. Like, you've got to take into consideration maybe cows with only 3/4 or 3 titters or stuff like that. Maybe there's cows that have got bad traits, etc, etc. There's a cow I've just picked up with mastitis, and she's had it once or twice this season, so I'm going to send her off as well, although she does have a minus LW, so she probably would have gone anyway, but you've got to take into things like that. But I'm just over here at this new grass, or this annual, and I've brought my plate meter with me, so I'm going to go through and measure it and see what the reading is. Today's Thursday, so I'll give it a week and then I'll come back and we'll see how much it's grown. But it is actually really, really warm now. The sun's out, all that fog's definitely lifted. It is about 1 o'clock, so it should have by now. But I'll start here and just walk to the other end of the paddock. It should give me a good enough reading. Dad's just come back from town. He's just gone and picked up a couple of bags of sustain. Could only get a ton because he didn't have any strops. So we'll send him back in and get 2 more of these bags. Yep. Pretty handy. The store's only like 4 k's down the road. It doesn't take long to go down and get some more and come back. But I've got 2 tons, so I'm going to go and try and put it on all the new grass. Not the new grass that I've just planted, but the older new grass. And I'm going to put it on about 30 units in per hectare, so that should give that bit of a boost. I think the next sort of 3 to 4 days look alright, so I'll probably get it on the weekend. Early next week looks like we might get a bit of rain, but yeah, it should really give that a boost. This stuff is the cheapest form of feed at the moment, and we're getting a really good response still, probably around the 15 to 1, if not higher, maybe 20 to 1. It's still nice and warm. We're getting that sort of rainfall pretty regularly, so it's going to soak in, and you're looking at probably 17 to 20 cents somewhere in there per kilo of dry matter, which is pretty good, and a bit of extra feed around can't hurt. I couldn't get a reading with this because it ended up not working. It kept coming up with wireless error, so I'll have to ring up. It might have to get sent away to get fixed. But yeah, it shouldn't do that. Like, it is fairly new and hasn't been used too much, so yeah, I'll see what they say. Well, Lee came in and had a look this afternoon, and the verdict is just get into it. So the weeds are ready to go. The grass is sort of almost formed like a canopy in places, which means it's sort of shading out the weeds below, but it's not quite at that stage yet, so almost, but not quite there. So yeah, we probably could have hit it probably a little bit sooner, but that's all right. It'll still do a good job. Now, so Dad's taken the sprayer up. We got all the Roundup out of that was in it, and he's taken that up. He's going to wash it out, ready to go for the morning. It's actually quite good at the moment. There's not much breeze around, so probably could hit it now, but I think he'll just do it in the morning while I'm milking. Be the easiest. Not a bad evening though. Beautiful. Cows are only in here like 3 to 4 days ago. Look at the regrowth on that. Pretty crazy. The brew we're putting in there is Tropidox 4 litres and a litre of Head Start, and it's going to take care of most of the weeds over there, especially the docks. Like, there is so many docks through there. I was just having a little look with Lee, and there is heaps, so hopefully it cleans most of them up. It's also going to take care of the mallow, which is good because I'm going to hit my lawn with it as well, so that should tidy my lawn up, make things a little bit easier mowing wise. The only thing it's not really going to hit is the thorny apple or prickly pear. There's lots of names for that plant, but I'm hoping it's that late in the season now that the young ones aren't going to go to seed, and if they do, I'll just go and start pulling them out. They're not too bad pulling them out by hand, so I'll sort of take care of that. I'm not sure if it'll take care of the maize plants that are coming back through, but that doesn't matter. The cows will eat them when they get their first grazing anyway, so no big deal there. But we're going to hit it tomorrow. Haven't done a mix. Dad's going to make a mix up in the morning anyway, and do it all. So apart from that, that'll pretty much do it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, and see you next time.